Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's debrief. My name is Snehal Vagolde, and I'm a managing director at the firm, and I am also our applied AI leader for investment management and real estate. Today's discussion is a continuation of our conversation from July, which focused broadly on the topic of AI in investment management. And today we'll dive a little bit deeper and talk about AI and Gen AI specifically within sales and marketing. And this conversation is actually based on a white paper that we recently published on the topic. All the links will be available later. With further ado, let me introduce our wonderful panelists for today. Kira, I'll start with you.
Everyone, my name is Kira Mikulecki, and I am a consulting partner in our customer strategy practice, and I lead our customer offering. Basically, think all things sales, service, marketing for the investment management sector, and very excited to be having this discussion today with all of you. Nitin, would you like to go next?
Ndua, partner at Deloitte with about 17 years of experience in financial services. In my role, I work with clients on strategic roadmaps, driving technology initiatives, and I'm passionate about the future of sales through an AI lens.
My name is Jana Bohr, and I sit within the intersection of strategy and financial services, focused on supporting our clients through digital transformations, development of their operating model, and more recently been working with clients on their AI strategy and how can they apply AI across the value chain.
Awesome. Thank you so much, all. A few quick housekeeping items before we jump into the conversation for our audience. First, we would love for this to be engaging. So if you have any questions, please utilize the Q&A box. We will do our best to weave the answers into our responses as we go through the process. And if we are not able to get to it, we will come back to you in the follow-up note as well. Secondly, we really appreciate you joining us today and your feedback. So as we wrap this up, there will be a quick pop-up with a very brief survey. And we would really love it if you can tell us what you thought of the session today and let us know what we can do better. Also, please note, this session does not offer CPE. And with that, let's jump into the conversation. So today we have about 25 minutes or so, and we're going to do very quick conversation touching upon 5 main topics. We'll start with the broad industry landscape. We will then talk about the strategy that is working in this space. We'll then jump into some true examples, hands-on experience, and share some battle scars with you all. Then talk about challenges, and then we'll wrap it up with some takeaways. With that, Kira, I will invite you in and please help us set the context. What's happening in the market, specifically within sales and marketing divisions, client expectations, adoption of AI, lots happening. So please unpack that a little bit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me start, I think, just quickly setting the stage of what's been happening in the market, right? So over the past several years, investment management firms have been on a journey to modernize their distribution organizations, really trying to empower their sales and marketing teams with better data, stronger insights, and more integrated technology. Many firms have invested heavily in new platforms and data architectures to really build also that kind of single 360-degree view of the client to be able to support everything I just said. However, progress across the industry, I would say, has been fairly gradual. And a lot of firms have had to kind of make selective bets on where to focus their investment and transformation efforts. At the same time, right, the landscape around them has changed dramatically. Investor expectations are higher than ever. Clients are more informed, they're more selective, they expect deeper transparency, and really importantly, personalization. So sales cycles have lengthened, competition has intensified, and margins have tightened when you look at the asset manager side, while all these increasing demands from the client perspective. And so that kind of leaves you with an equation of distribution and sales teams are really being asked to deliver more value with less. And it's really put pressure on finding ways to create scale while still being able to offer customization. So this is where AI can create really a game-changing opportunity for distribution teams. And the rapid evolution of AI is really allowing sales and marketing leaders to rethink how they work, using scalable, intelligent tools to really surface those insights, prioritize leads, automate some of those administrative work that kind of really takes for many hours, even days in certain circumstances. Tasks like synthesizing client data across multiple touch points, preparing for meetings, drafting investment commentaries even in the marketing function. And this really kind of frees teams to focus on the conversations and relationships that really truly drive growth. So, and I would say a couple more points here is just, I think what's really exciting is that this isn't just about efficiency, right? I talked a little bit about productivity and inefficiency, but it's also about improving the client experience. When teams can spend more time understanding client needs and responding in real time with more relevant insights, it really deepens engagement and strengthens loyalty, which again, really valuable in the market today. So closing comment here, really in many ways, this moment really represents that perfect intersection, rising market complexity, evolving investor expectations, and a maturing AI toolkit. And together, all of these things create that unique opportunity for firms to truly reimagine the distribution organization.
Yes, definitely a very exciting time in this space, right? So maybe thank you for sharing that, Kira. Maybe we'll pivot this a little bit, and Jan, I'll invite you in. You and I have been in the space for a while as well, and we've seen clients sort of tackle a couple use cases here and there earlier on in the journey. And this year specifically, we've seen a shift, right? We touched upon that a little bit in our July session on the shift in strategy. So can you tell us a bit about what is that secret sauce that now some of the leading clients are following?
Sure. And Snehal, maybe I'll take a little bit of a step back into the evolution of the different types of conversations we've been having. So definitely had a huge focus and a shift. AI and technology enablement has been a common theme for decades now. But over the last few years, there's been a big focus around how can we specifically leverage AI throughout the distribution organization. One of the areas that everybody's been very excited about is generative AI. How can we think about solutions, proofs of concept that can be used across the organization, and marketing felt ripe for disruption. Where we saw clients really going over the last couple of years was experimentation and point-to-point use cases for one individual task. One of the biggest challenges that we were seeing, though, across all organizations and using these single use case solutions is that they weren't seeing the returns that they were expecting from all of the investment that the organizations were putting in to build out these applications and solutions. And so what we've started to shift into over the last year is conversations around how can you create end-to-end solutions or workflows based off of a persona focus. So instead of a one individual task or activity, how can we shift that into a persona of a content creator agent? So you'll hear agentic conversations a lot. And what this means is really just instead of having one single task of summarization, actually being able to take multiple tasks and create a persona or an agent that can complete entire capabilities. So think about that content agent being able to source research of what are the newest products that are out there, then be able to create a summary of that content that could then be provided to clients, and then actually take different angles or personas based off of the target customers and create content that's custom driven for that persona. So in our industry, right, being able to talk to someone who is in retirement age, what you're going to focus on from an investment opportunity is going to be very different than if you're going to be able to pitch that same product to a less mature, maybe investment professionals. So that is kind of how we're seeing the shift of moving from just single point solutions to end-to-end solutions.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jana. And those end-to-end solutions truly are across the entire life cycle of the client journey, right? Right from identification, like you were saying, segmentation, then jumps into onboarding. Then once they're onboarded, how do you service them? And then retention and growth, right? So we're seeing this big shift this year in terms of moving to end-to-end persona-based transformation, and really driving value across the entire value chain. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to invite Nitin in next. Nitin, I know you and Kira have lots of hands-on experience in this space. So would you please share with us a couple examples of where you've seen this in action?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll kind of just piggyback on what Jenna was saying. From my experience, there are really three clear phases of getting this right, right? So the first one is identifying the opportunities to infuse AI in that journey. So for this example today that I'm going to share, the asset manager really chose their intermediary group, and they chose their internal sales and external. And so what we did is we got these individuals in a room, and we talked about their current process. Now, our guiding principle was we are going to prioritize efficiency. Our goal was really to give time back to these wholesalers that spent so much time in manual tasks or preparing manual tasks before they actually ever spend time with a client. So really finding opportunities of where you want to focus is number one. Number two is making sure that you align your technology teams and architecture on what is it you're trying to do in the approach. And then finally, launch, iterate, and track. So the first, we'll talk about maybe the journey of the sales process that we looked at, and I'm going to try to categorize it in a simple, which is you prepare for a meeting, you then have the meeting, and then you do tasks after the meeting, right? So preparing for the meeting is the summarization use case that we just kind of hit on, and probably many of you have already kind of gotten there, which is before I get on a phone call, this group spent about 30 to 40 minutes preparing. So they looked at all the different calls that have happened in the past and what those conversations are. They looked at all the different funds that this particular customer or wanting based on different attributes. They looked at how the funds were performing. They looked at potentially last time, did we try to push a certain fund versus not? And there was so much information. And guess what? Before we showed up, all this information lived in many different systems. And so there was always back and forth taking manual notes. Now, one important aspect of this is we use CRM to basically drive the solution because they're in their CRM software all day long. And so providing the summary to them where they are within the CRM was super important. So time saved tremendously, right? That was the first part of the journey. Second part of the journey is now that I'm in a meeting, how can I use AI to then make me smarter, accelerate my thinking, etc.? Now, this use case is particularly interesting because one of the things that we got pushed back on, we're actually still getting pushed back on, is recording conversations. And for legal purposes, but also wholesalers don't want their calls recorded. Now, if you were able to record your conversations, you're able to get real-time sentiment, you're able to get real-time agent coaching. Well, this is what I'm hearing as an agent. Here's the conversation that you could have or how to answer it. So the middle use case, which is during the call, is still work in progress, but we're making progress there. And lastly, the third, which is the post-call experience. So after the conversation's over, wholesalers are going into the CRM, creating opportunities, updating the conversation, writing about what topics were discussed, what funds were discussed. I have to create yet another meeting. I have to send an email, maybe with an attachment to a particular fund. So what we're doing here is we're trying to automate, and again, using AI to do all of this for you. So once the conversation is recorded, the meeting ends, the agent in this case is drafting an email for you, logging the actual notes within your CRM, updating whatever records you want. For example, you spoke about an opportunity X, you're updating it to an opportunity Y, and then even doing follow-up meeting scheduling. Now, this use case is really important, right? Because it's providing a lot of efficiency gains, but it's also providing great content that's being developed in your CRM. So for leadership, you can report on the type of topics that are happening, consistency on how notes are being, etc. So a lot to come. Really excited helping this client in this journey. So thanks, Neil. But that was the experience I wanted to share today.
What an extensive experience. Thank you for sharing that, Nitin. Kira, maybe I'll invite you in as well. Any other experiences you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know Nitin just talked a little bit about the sales process and where we've started to help clients in that area. But we're also seeing AI have a huge impact on marketing as well, right? And especially when it comes to creating a much more efficient and intelligent content supply chain. I'm going to build a little bit on what Jana spoke about earlier. So for years, marketing teams have dealt with pretty manual processes, a lot of frustrations, a lot of bottlenecks, right? When it comes to creating, reviewing, approving, and publishing content across so many teams, business segments, client segments, and also across several tools, and really having to work together with different functions across the organization. So what AI is doing now is really connecting those steps end to end. Again, building on what Jana said before, rather than think about the one-off use case, trying to create that connectivity across that entire process, and where can AI kind of connect the dots, if you will, and really streamline that. So it helps generate and really refine content ideas. It can check for tone and voice, ensure brand consistency, and even run initial compliance and accuracy checks along the content. And this is all before the content ever reaches a formal review. But imagine you can get a lot of that done so that that review process in the end is much faster. What AI is doing also now is really transforming the creative process. So AI can help design visuals, it generates graphics, optimize layouts, right? And even handle translations and localization in seconds, right? And something that I think is talking to an CMO recently, where they were reflecting on how they approached translations in the past, and they had to get translators in every region of the country. These are things that would take days or even weeks, right? So this isn't just theory, right? This is something we've actually helped several of our clients put in practice. By building AI-enabled workflows, really they're seeing dramatic reductions in production time, stronger consistency, and greater confidence really in the compliance outcomes, and even that bottleneck that is often kind of referred to within the compliance and legal team in those reviews. It's much faster. What's powerful is that it's not just making it faster, though, right? It's also making it smarter. Teams can spend less time chasing edits and more time focusing on the strategy, the creativity. What's the piece of content that is going to really resonate with our clients, that's going to be relevant? It helps it make it more customized, and really focus on the pieces that are going to drive in the campaigns that are going to drive the biggest value for the firm. I think, to me, this is a great example of how AI isn't really replacing the human element here, but really amplifying it. And I think very exciting to see it already play out with many of our clients.
Oh, that's fascinating, Kira. Like everything you said, from how you not only serve your clients, but even like how you organize your teams around this agentic component that is now hitting the market, is going to shift how sales and marketing teams are organized in the future, right? So Fascinating. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure everything that you and Nitin are doing in the market is not easy, right? It's come with a lot of different challenges that we have had to work through. So, to that end, maybe Jan, I'll invite you back in. And could you, maybe in like a rapid fire fashion, maybe talk about some of the challenges when it comes to actually implementing and adopting AI and Gen AI?
Sure. So, in terms of building out solutions and working with our clients, the piece that is most critical in order to build out robust solutions with good outputs is making sure that you have that readiness of available quality data that is you leveraged and used to be able to create those outputs. So, for example, we were talking a little bit about maybe customer segmentation and being able to do hyper personalization within content that's being developed. If you don't know who those customers are and data about those customers, it's hard to actually create that customization that will meet the customer where they are. One of the other pieces that's really critical is training. So even if you build a solution, if you don't have that change management plan in place and a way to really be able to foster adoption and creativity with how those tools are being leveraged, then you're not going to see the returns and based off of people not adopting your tools. So it's kind of, you need to make sure that there's that readiness and availability and comfort, familiarity with the solution so that they can make the most out of those tools. And one of the things we were saying early on is it's not that AI is going to replace team members. It's people who know how to leverage those tools who are going to end up getting ahead. And then I think the last two pieces that we've always wanted to think about is making sure from an organizational readiness perspective, you're thinking about what is the governance, what is your data security and your policies around how you're utilizing these tools. Because even if you're not building tools in-house, a lot of our vendors are building tools. So you need to make sure that you have an awareness on where these tools are being used and how to govern them. And then lastly, regulations is also an area that we're talking to clients about. It is an evolving landscape. The biggest areas that we've seen formal regulations have been out of the EU, but we also have seen spots of state-specific regulations. So it's important to make sure that you have that flexibility and are constantly monitoring for new regulations to make sure that you're in compliance.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Jana. There's always two sides to the coin, right? And have to stay pragmatic. Look, it's been a fascinating conversation, my lovely panelists, right? We covered a lot of ground in 25 minutes, right? We've talked about what's the landscape, the strategy or the secret sauce that's working, AKA end-to-end persona-based transformation. We've talked about some live examples, and it's fascinating to hear that it's not just a piece of paper, right? It's not just theory, it's not conceptual. This is happening. We are seeing leading clients embrace it, adopt it. Yes, it's not easy. It has its own challenges, like any other technology, but we're working through it, right? And we are seeing increased level of adoption. ROI is to follow, but it's all here to stay, right? I definitely have a very strong conviction that this is one of the areas within investment management that is going to look dramatically different because of AI and generative AI. And as we're drawing to a close, I want to come to each one of you. If you were to share perhaps one action with our audience specific to this discussion or topic, what would it be? Maybe Nitin, I'll start off with you.
Yeah, I would just say keep going and testing and learning and iterative and this is new, but I promise you it's going to be great when it actually gets there.
I'm happy to go next. Snehal, actually, I love this question so much so that I'm actually going to probably share two. First, I'd encourage firms really to take a long-term view on ROI, but while also still investing in those early targeted initiatives that can build momentum and really confidence among your teams. I think the real value of AI doesn't show up overnight. It compounds as you learn, scale, and really embed it into your business. The second one I would say is really stay open-minded and flexible with the solution, right? It's easy to get caught up in single use cases, but the real opportunity really comes when you start connecting them across workflows, start evolving them, right? As markets change, as needs change within your business, that's when you start to see real value is that ability to be agile and flexible. And also, that kind of end-to-end across workflow view is you start to see efficiency gains and really transformation and meaningful impact in evolving it over time.
Thank you, Kira. Jana?
And I think the thing that I would leave everyone with is that while we've seen organizations really move forward and focus around the technology and building out solutions, it doesn't happen without the business. So we'd encourage all of the sales and marketing team members who are on the call here to get involved, because we are seeing a lot of solutions with returns within your space. And so we would encourage you to get involved with the overall kind of AI strategy. Make sure that your function is taking advantage of how you are thinking about your investment as enterprise wide, how you're thinking about that implementation and that change management plan, so you can really see the greatest benefits for your function.
Great. Well, thank you so much to the panelists. What a fascinating conversation. I also want to take a moment and thank all our attendees. It was so great to have you all here. We will be wrapping this up shortly. And like I said at the beginning, there will be a pop-up with the survey. If you can please take a moment to complete it, we would greatly appreciate it. With that, thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.